everybody.
Hoi hoi.
Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. This late edition. It's like the late show.
It's like the Late Show
The late show with Ryan and Joe.
with Joe and Ryan. Joe and Ryan. Obviously, J comes first in the
Dude,
alphabet.
you are on top square and I'm on the bottom square. No matter what language you're speaking or writing in, it goes top to bottom.
Have you ever read Upside Down Chinese?
No, not upside.
They go
That
from
would be
bottom
upside down.
to top.
If it was upside down, that's not right side up though.
Well, I like to read Upside Down Chinese, so everything goes from bottom up for me.
Okay.
You ever drinking from a cup? You drink from the bottom to the top when you have a straw.
When you have a straw, that's true. That's true.
Yep.
And when you poke a hole in the bottom and you let it drain into your mouth, you know that
Yeah.
it still goes
Which is-
top down because when it drains out, it just
If you
drains
go
out.
like this, and you swirl it, and it creates that funnel, then top part is going to be at the bottom. That's something.
It will. But either way, it's the proper terminology is Ryan and Joe. That's how it is.
Look.
And I'm the host, so I get to call the shots right now.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So
But Joe comes before
back on
Ryan.
Friday, you can be
Anderson
in
comes before
charge.
Seawald, and CDVNL comes before Static P. So no matter which way you spin it.
No. But it's about the third letter of the first name.
Right.
That's the one that matters.
Okay. What about the fourth letter of the first name? Because yours is a space.
No, if I'm Joey, then it's a Y.
Oh man.
Or Y.
Well, if I'm RYYAAN, Ryan.
Ryan.
Either way, I mean.
And Princess just called us Joanne. And she's like, "We're gonna waddle." Yes, we're gonna waddle because it's Waddle Waddle Wednesday. Yes, and that is Waddles back there sitting next to Static P, sitting next to Detective.
Who's Waddles?
You may not understand that his name is Waddles, but it is.
I think you're talking about.
Yes. Waddles, exactly. So, but it's Don't Worry Wednesday, and we welcome you guys all here, and it's amazing. We're not professional therapists at all. We haven't even gone through what the show is about. It's a show about you guys. We want to do everything we can to help in any way we can. And if there's any challenge or struggle you might be going through, feel free to post it in the chat, or you can post it on our website. We've got some new ones on the website, actually, which is awesome. And that's the link to the place to post any topic that you might want us to talk about. And we'll just do our best to give you some encouragement, some love, and some perspective on the way while you handle these issues. We're not professional therapists or counselors, and we're not a substitute for that. We also know that most of you have everything it takes to get through your challenges. Just sometimes it helps to have a little bit of outside perspective. It always helps to have some encouragement. So I know that when I was going through therapy, the people I had around me were so important. The people that offered just love and encouragement, they were there just to talk to me. And that was so important as I went through the issues that were plaguing me, and I was going through them with a professional therapist that was, giving me the proper advice on how to handle stuff. So there's never any shame in going to see a professional, and we've referred people there before. So I'm Joe, and that's Ryan.
Hey.
And yeah, Ryan's really good looking tonight.
You think so?
Got that gray shirt on.
That's so true. That is so true about me.
Yeah.
I've also got a black shirt on.
You do.
And you've got that blue shirt and black shirt on.
I've got black and blue. I'm all black and blue.
Oh, man.
I probably do have black and blue areas of my body. I had to spar my 7-year-old tonight.
How did that go?
There's something about when kids spar adults. The kids,
yeah, they go all out.
Man, they're just
I'm
all
sure.
out.
I'm sure because they're like, I can punch this thing as hard as I can. It's gonna be great. And you're like, actually, I'd prefer if you didn't.
Yes. Well, when you're training your kids to fight, they learn how to hit, so it hurts. And so it's kind of, kids don't hold back at all. So it was a lot of fun though. So Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Wonderful. We got some great folks here. Akila's here, Princess is here, Rack Attack is here, the Empress. Welcome, Empress.
Welcome. Yeah. So I got a guitar from Steve last night. A guitar and a bass. Yeah. So I was playing a little bit today and I was having fun with it. I don't know how to play guitar, but I'm learning. And it's fun. My fingers hurt. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, that's one of the first steps to learning how to play guitar is to actually have one that you can play.
Yeah. Yes. That is definitely
step one.
That is definitely step one for sure. I mean, I guess step one might be knowing that a guitar exists. But even if you didn't, I mean, if you had one, I think that's important.
Yeah, I tell you though, Ryan did an amazing job on some songs, making guitar solos with that big thing in the back, that Kodo back there.
This thing.
Mm-hmm.
This thing.
He made that sound like a guitar.
Yeah.
Are you interested in sitar?
Oh, a sitar. Sitar has a completely different sound. I like the sitar. It's got a really unique sound.
It's cool. And Rack Attack, you know what? Interesting thing. He says he wants to be a professional slide whistle player. There was a time when I was a professional slide whistle player.
Nice.
Because I played auxiliary percussion in the Jackson Symphony Orchestra for one show. And so I got paid to play all those little instruments in the percussion section. One of which is the slide whistle.
Nice. I like it.
So I got to be a professional slide whistle player one time. One night only.
One night professional slide whistle player. I like it. Did you play the thing that goes whatever that thing's called?
The donkey's jawbone or whatever.
Yeah.
The vibra slap.
The vibra slap.
No, well, not in that performance.
Oh, okay. Bummer.
Yeah. No, they didn't like me, actually. It was funny. Like, because when you play in orchestral percussion, you have to be very proper and, blah, 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 blah. And I was totally not, man. I got into it. I was like rocking back there. I had this bass drum part that was awesome. And I'm like back there just like jamming with it. Boom, boom, boom.
Nice.
Yeah. They didn't want me after that. They were like, no.
Everybody's in the audience is looking to the back at you like, man, that guy's into it. He's stealing the show. He's doing great out there. And so that ruins performance for everybody else.
It was funny. They're like, they gave me my check and it was almost like, and they are like, no, well, we'll call you if we ever need another percussionist again.
Nice. Well, in that kind of setting, it's more about the music than it is about the people playing it.
It's true. It is. And the real performer is the conductor.
That's true. He's the only one that gets to dance.
He's the only one with his own dressing room with a star on the door.
Yeah. Wow, really? He gets that? Wow. Dang.
Oh, let's get to sit in the hallway and change our clothes.
Wow.
No, not really.
Oh, I was gonna say, I had to get used to that too. Just changing my clothes in the hallway. Actually, you do a lot of clothes changes in band. Going through high school band, I had to change my clothes all the time. It was pretty interesting. It was my first time, changing my clothes in front of people. That experience, watching other people change their clothes, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? I thought I was in band, you know, like it's weird.
Yes, it is weird. But we do have a question now. We have a few questions on the website. Yeah, Rex. Question alert. Wardrobe changes are pretty interesting.
You guys, you have a question?
We do, and it comes from Hackamer.
Hackamer.
Yes. So welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before.
No, this is the first time I've seen this person. So welcome. Thanks for joining.
First timer. So Hackamer has a question. Asks, would it be okay to do online dating? And awesome. I don't have a whole lot of experience with online dating. Ryan may have more. I know Ryan has more experience with relationships of the online nature than I do, or that, at least that began online. So luckily he gets to start this one. So take it away, Ryan.
All right. So would it be okay to do online dating? That honestly, yeah, it's a good question. And thanks for putting it out there for everybody to, hear. And sometimes it takes courage to ask questions. So I want to give you props for coming forth and doing that. So online dating, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Now, the thing is, there's a lot of benefits to online dating, and there's a lot of, I guess, unfortunate things about dating online. The thing is, online dating is perfectly fine. And it's kind of interesting. If you spend a lot of time online, then you're going to have a lot of chances to be with them if they're that kind of person too. So it's really convenient. But because it's so convenient, it also makes it really, you don't really have to struggle or go out of your way a whole lot to meet with them, which kind of takes away from the relationship. A lot of growing in a relationship is the struggle that comes from the efforts that you have to put forth to be with each other. But nonetheless, online dating does take a lot of effort for some people, and scheduling and so on, especially if you have if this person is living on the other side of the world. So I've had a couple of online relationships. I was dating a girl in the Philippines. I dated a girl in Canada and some in the US. Only one, I shouldn't say some, and one in the US. All of them were good relationships. And just like any relationship, it's about how much you sacrifice for the other person. That's what's going to make the relationship, effective and grow. It's all about your dedication. There's nothing wrong with an online relationship, but I think that in that scenario, your ultimate goal should be the same as a regular relationship that is more physical, or at least close. And that is, your intention at the end should be to marry the person. Some people refer to dating as simply, you go out to have an experience with somebody and see if you really like them or not. I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about a relationship, because you can do that with your friends. You can go, hey, let's go to the movies. Let's see if we like each other. But I'm talking about more of like a relationship. Is it okay to dedicate yourself and say, this is the person I want to marry, and I want to go steady with this person? If they're a person that you're not even sure you'll ever get the chance to be with because they're in a different location than you, I think that is a wonderful thing, because it really shows your commitment to being willing to go out of your way eventually, so much so that you'll have to move to a new location, or they will have to move to a new location. I think that shows a lot of strength and commitment. So I think that's a beautiful thing. But one of the benefits and one of the problems is that you don't have that physical side of the relationship. One thing that can happen, it happens to a lot of people, is that when they finally meet up, they don't have that physical chemistry that they thought that they would. They don't, they're holding hands together and they're like, this is more awkward than it is enjoyable for me. And so then they'll break up, which is understandable. So I would recommend that at some point through your relationship, you go out to meet them. and then, you know, before you try to draw it out too long. But that's just kind of something that, you know, I've experienced myself. But yeah, if you don't have that physical side, then you don't have the physical temptations, which is nice. But if you don't have that physical side, you also don't get the ability to really experience that person firsthand. There's so much. Having an interaction with somebody face to face is different. It is different. Mm-hmm. And so it's good to have that and good to work your way towards that. I mean, if the ultimate goal at the end is marriage, you know, living together, that sort of thing, then taking time out of your life to take a vacation, if you want to call it that, to go see the person is important. And you might have to work your way to do that, like get a job, get money that way, and then go fly out or drive or whatever it is. But all of that takes commitment. So in the end, it's really the same thing. In the end, an online relationship is the same thing as, or a long distance relationship is the same thing as a regular relationship. It takes courage. It takes strength. It takes conviction. It takes deciding to do something even when you don't want to do it. It takes love. It takes selflessness, or rather charity. It takes a lot of things to make a relationship work. So yeah, which is the same for any relationship. So I said, there's nothing wrong with it. Go for it. I've actually met quite a few people who started online relationships and now they're married. And so it's totally doable. And I don't see why not. You know, I'm not sure how old you are and if your parents or whatever would be against it or anything like that. But yeah, I wish you the best either way. And yeah, that's all I got really.
Sure. I mean, you know, it's interesting because I always have to throw out the little disclaimer that I'm sure everybody knows about, because until you actually know who someone is, you don't know who they are. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the cautions. I know that's such that's like Captain Obvious statement of the year right there. You know,
until you know, you don't know.
Right. So certainly, if you're just online chatting with someone, then you really don't necessarily know. I mean, you have an idea of who they might be. I mean, there are names that come through. It's like, I'm not always sure if we're dealing with a male or female sometimes, because all we see are words.
Right.
And names and stuff like that. So, you know, you have to be a little bit cautious, at least in the beginning. You know, so I'd recommend if it's turning into some type of a dating relationship, you know, eventually you're going to want to probably have at least a voice chat or a video chat or something where you see them or get to see who it is you're actually dealing with, you know, and because we all know there are sick people out there that do crazy stuff. So,
sure.
So always have a level of caution with what you're doing. But like Ryan said, you know, relationships are relationships, whether they're online or in person. And if it's moving toward romance, like Ryan said, the natural end of that is marriage and a lifelong commitment. So if it's just a friendly, hey, we're talking, we're hanging out, we're chatting online and having a good time, and that's all it is, then really there's not a whole lot to worry about in that realm. Once it gets to be a little bit more serious and you're starting to think, oh, now we have some we have some, you know, romance here to deal with. We've got some stronger feelings to deal with. Now you have to start thinking in terms of long-term commitment, more of a thing like that. And that involves, like Ryan said, sacrifice and commitment, and it's going to involve challenges and deeper discussions. So at that point, it helps to really know who you're dealing with. So yeah, I think online, I'm really glad with technology, because I know it used to happen a lot more when all we had were chat rooms and stuff like that. You never knew who it was you were dealing with. And then people
have webcams,
somebody into meeting them, and then it turned out to be, you know, some crazy person. So you have to, but nowadays we can get to see somebody on a video chat or something before we actually meet in person. So, my best wishes to you, Hackimer. And that was a tremendous question, and a great one to kick us off, because relationships are relationships. I love that. Exactly what Ryan said. It's still a relationship, still is going to require, you giving of yourself for the good of the other person.
I think it's always important to look at the, bigger questions in life and say, what is love? Ask yourself that question. How would you define love? And does that apply in this scenario? And can you love them without being romantic? And should you be romantic? And if you want to be romantic, that's not a bad thing. But yeah, it's always important to ask those questions. And I think the best way to define love is wanting the best for somebody, and carrying that kind of notion throughout your entire relationship is super important, because struggles will come, whether it's online relationship or a close relationship, in proximity. There are going to be a lot of struggles, and you're going to show your weakest sides. You're going to show your worst sides to this person, right? And at the end of the day, a good relationship, at the end of the day, both want the best for each other. And so at the end of the day, you both love each other. And that's what's beautiful about a relationship, is it's a great opportunity to strengthen each other and yourselves. And that happens both online and offline. The nice thing about online relationships is most people have a lot easier time talking about their problems, and typing things out. Kind of like, we used to do that before there was the internet. You used to write a letter, and you'd be like, hey, I'm sorry I did this, because it's a lot easier to apologize in a letter than it is in person, or hey, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm going through this problem. I'm wondering if you can help me. This is, these are my deeper thoughts. These are my inner thoughts. And that's kind of something that's beautiful about an online relationship, is it's intimate in a more psychological way than it is intimate in a physical way. With proximity relationships, close proximity relationships, you do have that that barrier, that mental barrier. People don't like talking about their feelings. People don't like talking about the intimate subjects, the deeper subjects of life. But online, people are a little bit more open. It's easier to get your thoughts out there. And so, yeah, you win some and you lose some in that kind of scenario. But the cool thing about that is, if you take an online relationship and move it to a physical one, now you're already used to talking about those things with that person. And so it also kind of drives you towards success in that realm. Now, when you're close to them, you feel more comfortable talking about your thoughts, talking about your feelings in person, because that's how you started the relationship in the first place. So that can be something that strengthens your relationship.
Yeah. I will say, even when you know somebody very well, I'll just speak from personal experience. Ryan and I love Ryan.
Who?
He's one of my best friends. And
I love you too. I love you too.
And we kind of have an online relationship recently. And yesterday I got to see Ryan in person.
Not a romantic relationship, just to clarify. He has a wife.
Yeah, right. Yes. I mean, but we had, we had a meeting that for Black Static and Swerve stuff, with potential new business arrangement, and there was it was really cool. But I have to say, I saw Ryan in person and it was weird.
Yeah, was it weird? It is always weird for like the first second. You're like, this is the real person. Like,
I know, like it's exciting because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm actually in this person's presence. I'm not just like on a camera, talking, because I see Ryan like 3 times a week on video camera.
But then, like, in person is different, because you can see all of them and you can see their body language more. You can see their posture. You can interact with them physically, like shake their hand, hug them.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, it's cool. But yeah, so there is a bit of a difference there, and I can totally understand why someone who is, if you've developed a relationship online only, that when you actually get to meet them in person, it gets a little bit weird.
Oh yeah, for sure. So but you got to embrace the awkward. That's what life's about.
That's absolutely true. Embrace the awkward, because, hey, those moments, those are the greatest stories you ever tell, are the awkward moments.
That's so true. That's so true.
It really is. You know, we were trading some stories back and forth yesterday, and they were always like the most interesting ones are always when something really bad happened, or really something really weird happened, or something that you're kind of upset. You know, those are the stories that have the drama and the intense feelings, and they really can captivate people. So if you're going through some kind of trouble, I don't know, Hackamer, if you're in an online relationship right now and you're trying to get that felt out, or if you're looking at doing it in the future and you were just asking for our opinion before you got started, I don't know. But like Ryan said, sometimes embrace the awkward, see where that goes. It can be fun, but be careful.
Yep. Always got to be careful. I mean, just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for us, the awkward moments are so fun.
Yeah.
They might not always be fun in the moment because it's awkward. It doesn't feel fun when it's awkward, but then later on you look back, you're like, man, that's a great story to tell everybody.
Yeah. You always survive.
Yep. Yeah. So thank you so much for the question.
It can be fun if your intention is to make it awkward, even for yourself. Because I remember, you know, in high school, especially at the end of high school, I intentionally caused awkward moments on purpose, just to kind of flare up the emotions and make people really like weirded out and like see how everything would play out. And it's fun to do it on purpose. It is.
Yes. Well, thanks again, Hackamer, and hopefully some of that was helpful for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you have anything to say or add, feel free.
Yeah, absolutely, and welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. Like I said, I haven't seen your name on here before, and it was awesome to see it.
Mm-hmm. So we do have one
some
from
other names too. I've not seen Screet's Orange Kittens before.
We have. Because remember the first time I called it Secret?
Oh, yes.
Orange Kitchens. And now
it's been a while, at least for me.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while for sure.
Oh, so
welcome back, Kittens. Nice to see you.
Mm-hmm. So, yes. All right. So we've got one from Science.
Yeah.
That was posted on the website.
Emotional intelligence.
Yes, I will post the website address there again. Just for anyone who feels like posting there, you can. So,
just out of curiosity, Science Rocks, where did you hear the term emotional intelligence? I'm just kind of curious if, because that is a legitimate term, and a lot of people don't necessarily know that combination of words. So I'm just kind of curious where you might have heard it for the first time. But that's neither here nor there. It's my own curiosity.
Yes. Well, while Science is answering that or ignoring it,
go for it. Just ignore it. I don't care. Whatever.
I will read through what the post says. So Science Rocks, and this is about emotional intelligence and hurting others. And Science says, simply put, I have a low emotional intelligence. When I get into something online, such as this, I often, to me at least, seem to come off as writing an academic journal. I'm terrible with anything social, and I often don't know how to make small talk or say things gently. I speak my mind as my thoughts come, even if they aren't fully finished yet. And even when I do stop to think before I speak, I still tend to get it wrong. I can sound harsh, angry, condescending, or whatever else, when to me, I'm simply making a harmless observation or statement. To top it all off, I have a hard time understanding people's motivations and behaviors when dealing with me, as well as more subtle or complex social cues. And asking people directly rarely ever works, as they don't want to just say what they're thinking. I also often can't express my intentions or meanings without going through a roundabout and often hurtful or offensive series of comments. So what can I do to fix this? I've severed many ties with people and friends and hurt even more, all because of my poor social skills, and I can't seem to get it right. P.S. Sorry, paraphrasing isn't my strong suit. LOL. This is what I mean by roundabout explanations. You're totally fine, Science.
Yeah, you're totally good. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the topic. This is a really important one, and I'm really glad that you posted this, because I think a lot of us deal with this kind of social awkwardness, or just maybe just feeling like it's not quite coming off as we're trying to. We're just trying to say what we need to say, but it's just not, it's not clicking. So I know Ryan is such an expert at dealing with people and their hearts and their feelings. And I'm telling you, like, he is, if Ryan tries to be offensive, he comes off as like mildly assertive.
I don't like your breath. Your breath stank.
But at the same time, he has also, there have been moments when Ryan has asked, all he has to do is ask a question. And because of the way that I take it, it charges me up because it's motivating. You know, he'll just ask me a question like, hey, how's this one little project going? And I just get all like, what? because And that's because I know that I could be farther along than I am, and I'm not. And so I feel like,
and I'm only asking because I honestly want to hear it. I want to listen to it, man.
I know. So anyway, so with all that said, that's my preface for Ryan, because he knows how this works and he's very good at it. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Well, I thank you for the edification. I appreciate it, Joe.
It's all for true.
It's all for true. And by the way, I saw your response to your Science. It might have been just research, or it could have been your psychology course of some sort. Mm-hmm. That's fair. Yeah, so that does sound like a struggle. And it's one that I definitely had early on, like especially like I was just kind of like a loose cannon for a while when it came to just my thoughts, or when I didn't like somebody and making people angry, or I did like someone and I just said something and it made people angry and I don't understand why. Yeah, it's a difficult thing. And I mean, it still happens to me every once in a while, but when it does, as quickly as possible, I try to fix it. Just being very honest and sincere and what's the word? Transparent in my personality, or in my reasons, my reasoning, or my intentions really helps a lot. So when it comes to just kind of not holding yourself back from what you want to say, that's okay. Like, I mean, you have to have tact when it comes to saying things that might be offensive to people. I'm always constantly asking the question, you know, if I say this, will it hurt them? And sometimes I can get that question wrong. But most of the time, if there's any way that it could hurt them, then I try to find a way to approach it that won't. Or at least I understand that if it does hurt them, that it doesn't ruin the relationship. Because there are ways to hurt people and not ruin the relationship. There are ways to give people a little bit of tough love and them still respect you, and, you know, and etc. So how do you get from one place to another in this scenario? That's a really good question, and it's one I wish I would have spent more time thinking about before you asked, because it is one of those things like, how did I get from one place to another? How did I do that myself? And, you know, how does anyone do that? I'm not even necessarily the best at it. How do you gain tact? How do you know when to say the right thing or how to say the right thing? Part of it is, it seems like your personality You know, you just say things that you don't intend to be hurtful, but you're just putting that out there and it's hurtful. I know a lot of people like that. And a lot of times you just have to hear those people out and say, they don't mean to be offensive. And so one thing that you can do for other people is always provide a disclaimer before you say anything. That's my main tactic. Provide the disclaimer first, then say your thoughts. Disclaimer first, always. So when I'm saying something that I think might hurt somebody or could have any potential whatsoever that they could take it the wrong way, I always put a disclaimer out there. I always start with something like, hey, I do not mean to be offensive with what I'm going to say. I'm just trying to figure out how to say this. So please don't be angry at me. And then you say it. Or, you know, like, I know I'm about to say something, and I know some people, like, they have this thing where, like, if you compliment them, they take it as an insult. I don't mean to be that way. I'm being extremely honest when I say this compliment. You are an incredible artist, and I like your shoes. Whatever it is, if you give a disclaimer, because here's the thing that helped me with this the most was learning about myself and all of the times I've been insulted by people. The more I focused on myself in that aspect, realizing that I'm the same as everybody else, and that, you know, people reason and they reason the same way because logic is logic. Truth is truth. Human minds, they work similarly. They work very similarly. Sure, we have different personalities. Sure, we might come to different conclusions or have different ideas about different things. But reason is reason. Logic is logic. And if you look at somebody and they do something and you go like, why would they ever do that? Think for a second. Ask yourself, why would I have done that if I was them? And you might say, oh, well, maybe they're going through something, or maybe they thought that that was going to do something different than what it did. Or maybe they're just trying to make themselves happy or whatever. It's always good to ask yourself how you can relate to somebody. Because if you can, if you can relate with them, then it's a lot easier to have a relationship with them and to be more cautious and be more honest in your relationship with them. That's kind of like my best advice is to study yourself and ask yourself why you would get hurt by those things. And then once you've found that, keep that in mind whenever you initiate another conversation going forward. Because if you say something and they get offended, it's always important to run through that reason. Like, why did they get offended? Why would I have gotten offended by that if I were them? Trying to figure out that. Then, because, like you said, though some people rely more on emotions than logic. That's so true. But emotions are a response. And you can use logic to figure out why they responded that way, is what I mean to say. So if they have an emotional response, try to figure out why they had that emotional response. You don't necessarily have to ask them directly. This is something you can do with yourself, something that you can have a conversation with yourself with. And then once you figure that out, now you have something going forward. Whenever you initiate a conversation of the same sort, you can say, oh, this has offended people in the past when I've said this. So let me be cautious, or when I've said something like this, let me approach this with a disclaimer. Disclaimers are your best friend when it comes to making sure you don't offend somebody. Being honest up front with your intentions, saying, I don't want to offend you. I don't want to make you angry or whatever, really helps. Because that provides the setting, the tone, for what you're about to say. It makes it so they don't get the wrong idea. Because a lot of times people are offended because they think you're trying to hurt them. Even though you're not. People are offended because they think that you think that they're terrible, or that they're broken, or that they're messed up, or that they're an emotional wreck, or that they don't understand, that they're stupid. They think you think they're stupid.
They take that personally. You may not have
Yes.
meant it at their person. You meant it at the situation, but they took it
Right.
personally.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because here's the thing. A lot of people in our current culture, if you dislike something they did, to them, that means you dislike who they are as a person. And that's not true. You don't mean to offend them when you say, hey, I just saw you steal that cookie. Like, that's not okay, you know? Like, but at the same time, while that is not okay, that doesn't mean that should make them feel like you hate them. Because really, in truth, you're just trying to help them, right? You're just trying to help them do the right thing so they can live a life of righteousness, live a life that leads them to joy and happiness, and not seclusion and pain and sorrow and sin and loneliness. You know, you're trying to help them when you try to correct them, right? So we'll always run with a disclaimer first. Say, hey, I'm only saying this because I want the very best for you, and I don't mean to insult you. You're a really great guy. I like you. I just didn't think that it was cool that you stole the cookie. And so I'm just trying to figure out, why did you steal that cookie? Like, that was weird to me. I didn't expect that. And then they would, then it's up to them. But as long as you put that disclaimer forward, then they are turned away from the emotional response of, they're just trying to hurt me. They're just trying to make me feel like I'm stupid. They're just trying to show me that they're better than me. Mm-hmm. You always got to leave with a disclaimer when it comes to things like that, because that really helps. So that's kind of like my best advice. Maybe I'll come up with a little bit more later, but I know I talk in loops and say the same thing over and over. But I'm just trying to, connect the dots in a circle for you.
Yes, but you're reiterating an important point there, Ryan, too, where it's thanks. Like to give that disclaimer so people know you're not attacking them. Mm-hmm. That's so important.
Yeah, everyone always feels like they're being attacked when you criticize anything that they do, even their artwork. It's like, hey, that artwork is amazing. I might have done like the shoes a little bit different. They're like, oh, I'm so
insulted. Like my shoes.
Yeah, I feel so like he doesn't like me. He's just trying to insult me. I feel like crap now, right? That's just how we are as human beings. And that's something we have to learn how to respond to. But not everybody's figured that out yet. And so you have to be gentle. And so how do you be gentle with those people? I think the most important thing is coming to understand everybody's broken in this way. Well, not everybody. Not everybody is broken in this way. Like, I know I can talk to Joe and I can say something straight face, like, hey, like, I noticed this about you, and, it's just an issue, and I know you can get past it. So I'm rooting for you, right? I could have a conversation like that with Joe. Mm-hmm. I can have conversations with Joe where one of us is wrong, and then we admit that we're wrong. Mm-hmm. But that's not a conversation.
Many times. Usually I'm the wrong one.
I've been wrong many times too.
You've been wrong once.
Come on.
At least once.
Put a 0 after it and then another 0. No, you were not keeping count. But anyways, not everybody's got that mental strength because they haven't gone through really thinking about these things yet. The more you think about it for other people, the better you are going to be at going into those situations and helping those people who haven't thought about this stuff yet, and being tactful and gentle and so on. Now, how to establish the right words, how to do that. I don't know. That's difficult. Maybe Joe has something on that, but yeah, I like to see what Joe has to say about the whole issue overall. So
I do actually, I do have stuff to say about that exact thing, the words to say and all that. And I will get to that. But first off, you need to go and replay what Ryan said when after this over. But because the stuff that he laid out for you is going to be so important. Another technique that I've had experience in doing is not just giving the disclaimer before you say something to somebody, but there's a technique called third partying somebody, when you third party a person. And this is more generally if you're in a relationship with that person where you're mentoring them to some degree, or they look up to you and they're asking for some advice. A lot of times when people ask for your opinion or for your advice, they're not really asking for your advice. They're asking for your encouragement. And so it's not really the same. Most of the time people just, tell me like it is, man, because I can handle it. I really want to know. No, they don't want to know. They don't want you to tell it like it is. They want you to fluff it up and make it all nice and soft and wonderful and encourage them and make them feel happy, clappy. That's what they want. That's how people are, like Ryan said. It's just how we are. So one effective thing when someone's asking for your advice on a certain thing is to use the third party technique and I had a mentor that was so good at this, and it's really simple. I would lay out an issue that I was dealing with. Man, I'm broke and I got this and I got that and blah, blah, blah. And all he would just preface his advice with, there's a guy I know, there's a guy, you may not know him, but he was going through this type of thing. And he told me that he was going through this and this and this and this. And he basically told me exactly what I just told him.
Yeah, I love that technique. I use it often.
Yeah, this other guy, he was going through all these problems too. And what I told him was this, this, and this. And you can be a lot more blunt, because then you're saying, well, I told this to this other person. I'm not necessarily saying this to you, but this is what I told this other person. And that's a very effective technique in order to get your point across without offending. And it also helps to it helps to get people to really think about what you're saying, because now you and them are going together and you're looking at this other person's problems for them and you're solving them together. So it's kind of a different perspective to look at the solving of the problems. So,
or maybe I would suggest, maybe instead of saying, and I told him this, you can just leave yourself out of it from saying, I told them anything. You just say, and then what I saw them do is this, and they solved their problem by doing that. Maybe you can try that, because maybe you're the one that told them that idea, right? And they actually took it. But the problem is you. They don't want to take your advice because it's you, and they don't want to feel like, feel like you're smarter than them. Like, how to solve their problem, and they don't, and they're the weakling. People don't want to feel like that.
We don't like being told things. We like to discover things. We like to learn things, but we don't like to be told things. So it's a really interesting dichotomy, because I mean, you guys are here and you're asking questions for us and we're just talking about them. And so like the fact that you guys are willing to do that is very humbling.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you guys being here and asking your questions. First of all, I want to make sure I say that. But science, I have a whole list of books that have helped me through this stuff, because I was exactly like what you described in your post for a long time before I started to read the right books, before I started to have some of these things presented to me in a way. And it was important for me to get good with people, because I was putting together a business team, and I wanted to be good with people so I could know how to deal with them. And I was awful at it. I mean, I'm a total introvert. I would rather write music, play instruments, and be away from people. That's what I like to do, or play video games and watch movies and stuff like that. But if I'm going to be productive, I'd rather be by myself, playing an instrument, working on some music, writing, doing something like that. I rather than being with people, trying to help them through their problems, helping them get motivated. To me, that was super hard, but I knew I needed to get good at it in order to go where I wanted to be. So I ended up with all these books, and I'm gonna put them in the post. I have a note here after this is over, I'm gonna reply to your post on the website, and I'm gonna put the list of a bunch of books, because there's so many, and I'm gonna list them off, but you're not gonna remember them unless I write them down, because there's a bunch. There's you talked about emotional intelligence. There's a book called The Emotional Intelligence Quick Book. And that's, I can't remember the Arbour-Singer Institute or something like that wrote this book. I can't remember the name. When I look it up, I'll know it. But so there's that, and that helps with emotional intelligence. But I think what you're dealing with is it's not as much of an emotional intelligence issue as it is just a dealing with people thing. And there's a few books. There's How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a classic by Dale Carnegie. That teaches a whole bunch of great stuff about people skills. Even more importantly for me was Les Giblin, his book called How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People. That book was more impactful for me in dealing with what you're dealing with right here. The whole, I'm telling these people, and I'm having trouble communicating these ideas. I have ideas that I think can help them, but it's just not coming off right. It comes off offensive. It comes off harsh. It comes off, I'm just saying what I feel, but it's not coming out right. And so that book really helped to guide my thinking on how people act. So then I could guide the words that I was formulating in order to make it sound a little bit better. Another one, and I will put a little cautionary check mark on this one for you, is a book called Success with People by a man, I think it's pronounced Cavett Robert is his name. Cavett Robert. And I just looked it up. I know it's available on Amazon. But Success with People, the reason I'm going to put a cautionary mark on this one is when you read this, you're going to learn exactly what to say and how to deal with people, almost to the point of manipulation. You're going to learn such specific detail about how people operate and what to say. It's going to borderline on manipulation. So your intentions have to be right. Like if you're going to read that book, you need to make sure your intentions are pure, because you're going to kind of be borderline on that personal manipulation type deal. But you being a psychology person, I figure you get a kick out of that stuff because, if you're into psychology, you're going to really like that. So I will put these books in there with you. And then there's a couple other ones related to personalities and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Seems to me like you're a pretty well-read person anyway. And you may have read some of these already. But so
it's a good point.
Good point. Manipulation isn't inherently bad. That's right. However, it's the intent. Where are you guiding these people? Where are you steering them? Because if you're steering them down a bad path, then it can be inherently bad. But yes, manipulation in and of itself isn't necessarily bad. It just depends on the intent and where you're steering folks. So, but one question, here's the thing. I'll put that all in the reply there. I'll do that after the stream. But before I turn it back over to Ryan, I want you to think about something. And that is, when you're in those situations, one of the things I had to do, because like I said, I dealt with this exact same thing, and I would just speak my mind and I would just say whatever. My dad always taught me, he said, think before you speak. And I tried to do that, but I never, we all do the best we can and we mess it up. I'm the best.
We're all pretty bad at it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but one question I had to ask myself, and I learned this fairly early on when I started to study these things. And when I would hear somebody talk, a lot of times I'd be like, oh, that's wrong. What they're saying, that's wrong. I need to correct it immediately. Like your statement about demons a couple streams ago. You guys all made fun of me for like the whole rest of the stream.
Yeah.
Which was great. But one thing I had to learn to ask myself was, how important is it for me to respond to this right now? How important is it for me to correct this right now? And really, so I don't always succeed at that. I don't always ask myself that before I speak, but I try to remember to do that, because sometimes it's not going to do any good for you to speak up about something. Sometimes somebody's going to be running off track. They're going to be going the wrong direction. You're going to see it and you're going to be like, I could totally help them because I know the right way. But they're not going to listen to you anyway. And no matter what you say or how you say it, they're going to ignore it. Or worse, they're going to resent you for it and do the opposite just to spite you, which happens as well. So the question to ask yourself as you get into this is, how important is it for me to talk right now? How important is it for me to address this? And if it's something that's a personal thing, are you in a group of people and it's this one person and you're addressing an issue with them? If so, it's good to get out of the group so you're not addressing the problem with the person in front of other people. You know, you take some time away and you're dealing with that person one-on-one in a more personal setting where, like Ryan talked about, you use the disclaimers, you can use the third-party technique, you can use other things, you know, asking questions, you know, that just doesn't seem like you. I don't understand how, like, why you might do that, you know, different things like that. So those are some things to think about. Are you in a group, for one, if you're going to address an issue? And I would strongly recommend getting away from a group of people and handling issues like that one-on-one. But then you're not going to embarrass them in front of their friends or colleagues or whoever it is they're in front of. And then the other thing is, some of those books I'll send you will give you specific wording to use, but more than anything, it'll give you the mindset on how people are. And really, though, the number one filter to put in your brain. A lot of us talk about, hey, you know, I don't really have a filter when I talk. Yeah, that's a lot of people are like that. I'm certainly naturally like that. I had to put filters in place in my mind so I would shut up. But the number one filter is to ask yourself, how important is it that I talk about this right now? And that's a quick question you can ask. And half a millisecond, you know, once you embed it into your brain. Because a lot of times it just might be best to just let it go. Don't say anything at all. It might not do any good whatsoever to correct somebody. It might not do any good at all to offer your opinion or your guidance. So, and as you do this more and more and more, you will learn when are the important times to speak up, when are the important times to not. And never forget section 533 of the 5th book of Job.
Was that the demon's quote? Was that
Yes, that's the quote. Actually,
actually, there are demons, according to the page 530, or section 533 of the 5th book of Job, and I quote, actually, there are demons.
Yes. So go back and watch a recent.
So funny.
Yeah, I think that was just a few episodes ago. But anyway, hopefully that's helpful for you. I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan to see if he can put a nice little bow tie on this thing. But yeah, science. That's such a great question, and one that I personally have a lot of experience with and have struggled with for a long time. So, Ryan, what else you got?
Thank you for that, Joe. That was really great, and I really like what you said about holding your tongue. You know, biting your tongue and holding back and say, "Is this going to actually help this situation if I say this? Do I really need to correct them?" You know, something I've figured out more recently in the last couple of years is that probably in the last year. You must have the dang quote. Yeah, that's right. Actually, demons do exist. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Anyhow, sorry, I didn't. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got the quote wrong. Science. You know, I don't know. I didn't read the book of Job, so it's my fault.
Well, read it.
Yeah. So, anyways, you know, what I found is that correcting people is like pretty much never do it. I mean, there are times when you can correct somebody, but 99.9% of the time, if you are talking to somebody, you don't need to correct them. What's more important is that you are doing something good for them. Okay. So, I mean, I've talked about this before. I try to keep the main thing, right? So here's the thing. I've talked to people of different religions or religions that are similar to mine, but they have slightly different opinions about certain things. And what I discovered was that it doesn't help me to tell them where they're wrong. It helps them a lot more if I just act as I'm supposed to and show them by my example. What I mean is, my main thing in life is to be an example of God's heart or God's love in the world. That's my main thing. And so if I get into a conflict with somebody and I have an opportunity to correct them, if I do, it's probably going to lead to more issues than it is going to lead to more help. But if I just treat them with love and respect and listen to what they have to say, and then just act out my life according to what I believe in, they'll notice and they'll see me do what I do and how I treat people and how I act and how I respond to their insults or their kind words or whatever it is. They'll watch me, and that will set the tone for our relationship. So if you work on just trying to be the best you and don't worry so much about trying to correct people or improve other people's lives through the method of, words and like, hey, you doing this and maybe you shouldn't be. People usually know when they're doing something they shouldn't be. But, in the case where people just have the wrong idea about something and you're like, hey, I've heard that idea before, but it doesn't work. People don't like that because when you talk about something like that, they feel like that's who they are and you're telling them that they're wrong, that who they are is wrong. And that causes a lot of conflict. So just correcting people is pretty much almost always going to be a no-no. Here's what I had to learn. Unless they're of my religion and I have a really great relationship with them, only then is it okay really for me to tell them what's wrong and what's right. Because if they aren't the same morals as me and I'm telling them, hey, it's wrong to kill people and it's wrong to whatever it is. And I list off these things that are like morally incorrect, right? Is that going to turn them on to my life and way of living? Or is that going to make them feel like this guy doesn't like who I am because I do all those things? And that just makes me feel like you're an angry bigot and I don't really want anything to do with you because all you ever do is tell me where I'm wrong. And that doesn't feel good. So it's better to just leave those things by the wayside. Allow people to come to you and ask you about those things before you tell them. Because you will gain respect just by being who you are, trying to be the best version of yourself. You'll gain people's respect and then they'll come to you. Until then, you'll just set an example and you're just going to earn that respect from them. And when you see them doing something wrong, sometimes you just have to accept it and say, man, that's a bummer. I'll pray for them. Hope they figure out the way to accomplish this, But anyhow, what I was going to say, other than that, was you mentioned trying to read people and you have a hard time reading people. First, absolutely check out those books Joe put. I'm sure that they will help you a ton. I haven't read them myself, but I know people who have, like Joe. And I learned a lot from those people. Okay. I learned from being around those people a lot of those things. But as for how to figure out what's going through other people's heads, you can listen to Detective. It's a lot about just putting yourself in their shoes. It's a lot about just being conscious of, okay, I'm trying to read the person, listening to the words listening to the thoughts behind their words, listening carefully to the words that they say and the words that they don't say, watching their actions and trying to read into their intentions. See, when someone talks, they have an intention behind their words. They have an intention that they're speaking with. They have thoughts that led to those words. You can try to decipher those thoughts based on their body language, based on their words, based on their prior actions, based on the things that you know about them. And it is something that you get better at over time. But if you just start focusing on that, it'll start to lead you down the path of learning it. So if you want to try to be able to read people better, so you can get an understanding of what they really mean when they're saying something, or, how they're feeling emotionally at that point, just being able to pay attention to that in the moment, or even in retrospect, will help you start to go down that line and learn a lot more about it. But a lot of times, a lot of it is just learning about yourself, putting yourself in their shoes, figuring out, what do those emotions feel like? Why would I speak? Like, why does someone speak timidly in that scenario? They must have had some reason to speak timidly. They must have had some sort of cautionary fear, or perhaps something happened in their past that led them to be this way. Either way, you can start to learn about people just by trying to reason their actions and their words and the way they say things. So just being conscious of all that will hopefully help you.
Yes. There's a great quote that I heard that says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's one worth repeating. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And then there's an addendum to that that says, but once they know you care, you darn well better know something.
That's good.
Nice. But that just puts it in the right perspective. Like Ryan was just talking about, the relationship comes first before anybody's going to ever listen to you, before they're ever going to take stock in anything you have to say. They got to trust you. They got to know you. The relationship has to be there first. And then from there, now you have the authority to speak into their life because they respect you. They know you. There's a relationship. There's a bond built. It's like what we were talking about between Ryan and I. There's such a strong friendship between us that we know and understand our intentions to the point where we could be really, really blunt if we wanted to.
Which we don't ever. We're never really that way anyways.
Right. We don't generally tend to, but we could in the case that something really important was happening and needed to be addressed right then and there. We could be blunt and it would not wreck the relationship because we have that strong friendship. And so it really gives you the authority to speak into someone's life, and they will take what you say to heart once you have that relationship built. It doesn't have to be a friendship that's been going on for 14 years or however long we've been friends for, or whatever. It can happen first month of knowing somebody, within the first week of knowing somebody. Depends on how the relationship progresses. But that's one thing, like Ryan said, man, take into account what they are thinking. Get into their shoes. Do the best you can to look at the world from their perspective. I was sitting in the movie theater the other day. We went and saw a movie, me and my wife and my kids. And I sat there after the movie and I watched everybody get up. And they're getting up and walking out and everything. And I'm like, you know what? Every single one of those people looks at the world just like I look at the world. They don't have the same perspective as I do, but they look out the same, like we all look out at the world. And we all see other people around us. We all see the world around us. And we have different things going on in our lives, but we all have our own perspective. And how amazing is it that we can interact with other people? How amazing is it like I looked around the movie theater and this is just a tiny little segment of the population of the world. There's like 6 billion people. And they all look at the world with a perspective like we do. We all have our own perspective. And their wants and desires are the most important things to them, just like every single one of us. And the more you can trade spaces with somebody, to look at the world from somebody else's perspective, the more you can try and understand. I wonder how they're looking at the world today. I don't know what they might have happened. Maybe someone in their family's sick. Maybe someone in their family died. Maybe who knows what happened. Maybe they're fighting with their spouse. Maybe they've got a cousin that, is a problem. Maybe they just watched a friend go to jail. Who knows? We see somebody for that one little moment, but they've got a whole life that surrounds them. And the better you can do at trying to be sensitive to that and understand the world from their perspective, the better you're going to be at all of this, because you're going to come at them with a sense of compassion. You're going to come at them from the standpoint of they're going to know you care. And one thing too, don't ever stop trying things. The world is your laboratory. Other people are your laboratory. Now we're making it impersonal, but you can try things and experiment and see how things go. And I just heard a quote, there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. I really liked that one because I spend a lot of my time failing at things. Nice. And what I'm learning is that's just feedback. That just tells me that I need to do something different is all. So don't beat yourself up when you make a mistake, because it's just feedback. And follow all of Ryan's advice, and I'll send you some books.
You did say you only know how people react is not very helpful when you can only speculate. How do I know if my speculations are anywhere near correct? Here's some advice for you. Ask them. You can ask. Tactfully, hopefully tactfully, you can ask them. They might not want to talk about it. They might. But if they do, then you've learned something. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, the things that I've learned were through my failures. When I noticed me doing something I shouldn't have been doing, or acting a way that I experienced pain, and then going and saying to myself, why do I feel this way? What's caused this pain? What inside of me is forcing me to have this pain? And a lot of times I realize, oh, I was being selfish. That's why I'm feeling pain. I was doing something for myself that was wrong, or I was just thinking about myself. A lot of times it was me being selfish, but it's always good to ask why, and then ask that why again, and then why again, and why again, and why again, until you come to the bottom of, or the root of the issue, whatever it is. So whenever you feel angry or pain or sadness, you can talk to yourself in that manner and try to figure out where it all stems from. And once you do that, then you can do that for other people. When other people experience pain from what you say to them, you can get to the bottom of it a lot easier because you've done that for yourself. The root of people's pains are often the same because, because life is life and we're all human. And even though there are many differences, there are also so many things that are the same. So, and reality works the way reality works. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, honestly, it's a lot of self-study to realize why people do the things they do. But sometimes my speculations are wrong.
Yeah, that's why sometimes it makes absolutely no sense why people do what they do.
Yeah. That's why when I talk to somebody, I often again make that disclaimer. I could be wrong about this. Or rather than me saying this, can you just tell me like what's going through your head? Or, whatever it is. Just, it's okay to ask questions when you see somebody getting angry, or whatever, or you have something to say to somebody and you're like, this might hurt them, rather than telling them, you can ask questions, and it's okay to do that. Of course, tactfully, and maybe with a disclaimer, like, hey, I'm not trying to like offend you by bringing this up, and I won't talk about it if you don't want to talk about it. But I'm just really curious, like, what, I'm trying to figure out what makes people do things, like what makes people do certain things, and so I can like understand people better. And this is something I'm trying to work out for myself. So I'm just curious now, why did you do that? Why did you have this thought, or did you have that thought? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Asking people that with the preface of, hey, I'm just trying to figure out how to get to like understand people because I'm really confused about this subject. And I want to be a psychologist someday or something. People will be like, oh yeah, I did this because of that and that, that'll really help you to understand people a lot better. So it's okay to ask questions.
Mm-hmm. And I see you overthink things. I do the same thing. Brian knows that for sure, more than lots of people.
We all like to overthink, I think.
Yes.
I think
we all think too much.
Yeah, well, sometimes we don't think enough, though.
It's totally true. And sometimes we just talk with no filter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just think that what we have to say is super important in that situation. Moment.
Welcome.
Yeah. So anyway, science, thank you so much for that question. Hopefully some of that was helpful. And like I said, keep a lookout on that post. When we get done here, I'll put a little book list there for you. Hopefully that can be helpful as well. I know those books certainly helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How to deal with stuff. But also don't underestimate the laboratory. I know that wasn't a something. I mean, yes, look at your name, Science Rocks. Yes, the laboratory and the experiments. That's in I think it's in Les Giblin's book, How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People, where he talks about, the world is your laboratory. Go out and experiment with other people. All the people around you, that's your laboratory, and we're gonna work in the science of human relations and stuff like that. So
yeah.
So it's pretty cool. But
yeah. So it looks like Repacharge has a question. Yep. Welcome Riku and Kendra. Nice to see you guys here. I appreciate you coming by and stopping by and listen to two stupid guys talk.
Yeah.
and Queen of Insanity. Hey, welcome. Hello. So yeah, we've got a lot of new or rare people joining us today. So this is awesome.
Yeah. So we've got one. We do have one from Akil that he posted about an hour ago, and then we also have one from Repacharge.
Akil, would you like us to address yours, or because you had mentioned, or maybe it wasn't you?
Well, we did handle one of
Repacharge got one
on the last stream. We did handle one of Akil's on the last stream as well, and.
By the way, Akil, thanks for always coming to these. We love you.
Yeah.
We
appreciate my gosh. Yes. You always contribute so much to the community.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm sure that he'll be here next time we do this, because he's here most of the time. And if not, we'll catch you another time. Or maybe we'll even finish this one and be able to get to yours as well.
That's a possibility too.
Yeah. So
we'll take also. Anytime, go to that site we've been posting right here, all of you, because it's awesome. And anything by Akil in there, you're gonna the way Akil writes, you get a lot of insight just from reading his questions.
That's true. He does a lot of self-reflections, it seems, before he posts a comment, because he has a lot of his inner workings displayed for readers to see, which is really cool.
Yep. So Repacharge, if you're still here, then we'll move to yours. Yeah. Oh, hey, there he is. So
Would you like me to start it? I have it highlighted.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Pepperchard says, this is kind of a weird question, but I wanted to ask and help with. I really enjoy reading manga books, and sometimes I get attached to the characters, so when it ends, I feel depressed. Any help for this? He continues, I feel depressed because I get emotionally attached to the characters, so even after the good ending, I just wish there was more I could read, or I could switch places with a character. Yeah, that's awesome and totally relatable. I think he has a little bit more. He said the most recent one was today, and it was Nisekoi, but with every single manga series I finish, it just makes me sad that it finishes. It doesn't make me satisfied. Doesn't make you satisfied is an awesome statement. By the way, I'm sure that one of us will touch on that comment alone. But yeah, what would you have to say about that, Joe?
No, I totally get where you're coming from, Repacharge. Because there are times in fact, I'm kind of experiencing this now a little bit to some degree. That is, I've been watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I know it's kind of an older anime, but it's funny. Like whenever I get into watching a series of something, I'll watch it and then it's done, and I'm like, that's where it ends.
Yeah, but
like that's it. But I'm not anywhere near the end of this one, but I look forward and I'm like, there's like 60 some episodes or something listed on there, and I'm like not even like halfway there or whatever, and I'm like, okay, but I know when I get to that point it's going to be like this, because but that's a sign of good writing, because it's engaging, and that writer did a really good job of pulling you into the story and getting you interested. So Repacharge, sometimes I would ask you, are you by any chance a writer? Because if you're not, you might want to think about starting to, because someone who gets that much into stories probably could be a really great storyteller. And one thing that might help is, even though you wouldn't be able to publish it, you can continue the story in your own way. Or drop it and move on to another one. Because sometimes, unfortunately, there is nothing in this world that lasts forever. All things in this world have a start and an end. And our souls are eternal, I believe, or everlasting, I guess is a more appropriate term. But everything that is here in this earth has an end. Every material thing that's here, it begins and it ends. It has, it grows and decays, and that's kind of just the cycle of how things are. And without an ending, if it just went on and on and on and on and on forever, we wouldn't put as much value in it, really. I heard it said at one point that one of the greatest motivators in life is that we have an end date. And that's one of the things that makes life sweet, is we know it's going to end someday. And so we try and get as much as we can out of it, and we try and do as many things as we can and experience as much as we can, because we know it's not going to last forever. And so it kind of gives us that drive to go and do things and accomplish and to create and to act. And that's good, because if we were just going to, if it was just going to go on and on and on and on and on, just like it is, then we, it'd just be, we'd start to take things for granted. It'd be a lot more boring and all that kind of stuff. One thing I look at my kids and I know that they're growing. I watch them grow right in front of my eyes. And I'm like, there's going to be a time when they probably don't talk to me as much as they do. They're going to get involved in their stuff, and they're going to, they're going to grow up, and they're going to grow into other things, and we're not going to have as much contact with each other. And it's going to be pretty crazy like that. There's going to be a time when we're not doing martial arts anymore together. All things have an ending. So as frustrating as it can be, one thing you can do is start writing your own stories. And who knows? Maybe you'll hit on something, you'll be the great storyteller that then ends it and frustrates the people that are reading the story. So that totally could happen. And other than that, I mean, I'm gonna turn it over to Ryan, because that's all I can think of right now. And then maybe I can think of some more, but take it away, Ryan.
I'll turn it over to you later. I mean, here's something. I mean, kind of on the subject that Joe was just talking about. All things have an end, and that's beautiful, but it's also painful. And that pain is to show us the value. When you experience pain because something ends, usually that's because your heart notices the value of that object that is no longer happening or in existence or whatever. And so that's kind of a beautiful feeling. It's like a tribute. It's like paying your due. And so, and that's, in a way, that's kind of a really cool and beautiful thing that humans have. But the thing is, nothing in this world will satisfy you forever. And especially not entertainment. I've come to realize that entertainment doesn't really satisfy me a whole lot of times. It can for a period, but unless the story is really gripping, it becomes boring. And even if it's gripping, when it ends, it's done. Nothing satisfies us forever. Mm-hmm. And that's good, because it continues to call us forward, continue doing something more. And that is good in a spiritual sense too, because everything that's beautiful on the earth is, at least in the Christian religion, a sign that points towards heaven or the afterlife, where you can have satisfaction that lasts eternally. But even if you don't want to believe that, which is fine, there is another thing that is interesting about things coming to a close. I've watched some anime where it totally made me feel that way. Or, maybe, with a manga, you could do the same thing. Here's the thing. When a story ends, whether the story had a good ending or a bad ending, and you feel that lack of satisfaction, what I could recommend to you, the best thing you can do in that moment, is try to pull something out of that story that affects you and how you live your life or understand the world around you. Because when you can take a story and it ends and you feel that dissatisfaction, you can take that story, you can feel that satisfaction, and you can think about the whole story and grab something out of it that changes who you are inside. Something that teaches you a lesson or makes you look at the world in a slightly different perspective or notice something. So take the story and find some sort of realization out of it. Pull some kind of information out of it that can be important in how you view the world. That is not just how you view the world, but something that's enlightening. Pull something out of the story that's enlightening. And that will create satisfaction from the end. The story will have ended, but that story will now dwell in you and what it taught you. So whenever you finish that story and you are attached to the characters, you love the characters, but they're no longer existing, find something in that and let it build you up, because that will create internal satisfaction within yourself. And that is, for me, the best way to end a story. That for me, whenever I notice that feeling, if I do that, man, that just makes my attitude like, I'm awesome. I feel awesome, and it makes the story feel like it was worth watching. See, the thing is, if you watch a story or you hear a story or you read a story or whatever, and it ends, but you didn't get anything out of it other than entertainment, it's really unsatisfying. Really unsatisfying. But if you can take that and make it build you up, make it turn you into a better person, to a greater person, make you stronger, that's satisfying. That's more satisfying than the story. Because then it carries with you. And yeah, satisfaction comes from a lot of happiness. A lot of happiness comes from satisfaction, but it's satisfaction with yourself and the life you've lived. Happiness a lot of times is a certain type of satisfaction. And when you build yourself up, when you go through hard times, feel bad emotions, but you build yourself up through it, that creates happiness. That creates a self-satisfaction. And you can do that. So if it's just entertainment, it's really unsatisfying when it ends. But if you turn it into something good, something for good, then it's satisfactory. So I recommend you spend some time in solitude, nothing around you, and just talking to yourself. Or if you drive or ride a bus or something, that's a good time to do it while you're just traveling. Just think about it. And when you have that realization, that satisfaction will come to you. But yeah, spend some time in solitude, thinking about the story. What can you pull out of it? But yeah, anyways. So Joe, do you have anything you'd like to add to that, or?
Just one small thing, because you said that so beautifully. The only thing I would say is, when you're doing that reflection, do it with an attitude of thankfulness.
Yeah.
Put some Thanksgiving in there and be thankful for the time you got to spend with the story, with the author, with the characters in the story, all of that. Somebody created that, and it was good. And it was good enough for you to get pulled into and drawn into, and like Ryan was talking about, it can have an impact on who you are and who you become. And that's something to be greatly thankful for. That's one of the things I've tried to do. A lot of times when I've felt, upset because something ended, or because something didn't go the way I wanted it to, or something like that, was to remind myself, and it's not always easy at first, and it takes building up a habit, but to be thankful for the moments you did have. There have been many, many times in my life where there have been frustrations, whether it's with family members or friends. And those frustrations are always so difficult. But when you can turn that moment into a moment of thankfulness because of the time you did get to spend, because of the good things that happened, because of all of that part of it, not just the frustrating part, what you find is you can put some good emotion into the mix of this situation. And when you put that good, that thankful, gratitude, happy feeling that's in there, and it's then blended with the frustration, sometimes those are the most impactful moments of our lives, when it's a combination of happy and sad. It's a combination of, anger and joy. It's those combinations of feelings can be so defining for us, because it brings us to the depths of frustration and then lifts us to that peace of gratitude. And that combination, that mixture of feelings, can really impact us and lead us to some growing moments in our lives. So that's the only thing I would add to what Ryan said, because taking that time and seeing how that story impacts you, and then it becomes a tool for your growth. It becomes something that's impactful for you. It becomes something that makes you into a better person, and that's really awesome.
Yeah. I'm always unsatisfied with myself when I notice I've wasted time. But it doesn't have to be wasted time if I can draw something out of it. And you can draw something out of almost any experience. Even if it's, wow, I played that game for like 17 hours straight and I really had I should have been doing my homework. Wow, that was really dumb of me. Yeah. But you can try to figure out how to draw something important out of that. Besides, I shouldn't have done that. Joy is important too in this world. Joy is important. But yeah, figuring out how to draw something out of it will restore that satisfaction that you might feel like has gone missing. Because you might feel, wasted time or now. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. And science, you should put Thanksgiving into everything. Putting stuffed turkey into anything is good, except for maybe chocolate.
No, I mean, even as long as you're thankful. So, Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, you can put chocolate in your Thanksgiving dinner. Why not?
For those of you who don't live in the United States, I'm sorry that you don't have Thanksgiving dinners.
Well, Canada has Thanksgiving, but they don't celebrate the same way.
Yeah.
And there's always Chinese Thanksgiving, which is a holiday that we invented, also known as Halloween.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Remember? Chinese Thanksgiving is Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
It's your wife's favorite holiday, remember?
That's right.
Chinese Thanksgiving.
That's right. I remember. Oh, sorry. Sorry for not remembering until
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
But thank you for the question, Repcharge, and hopefully some of that was helpful. But yeah, I totally can relate with your feelings on that, because I know the drop at the end of a storyline, and you're like, oh, now it's over. Dang it. I've been that way at the end of many series.
Hopefully that helps you in the future there, Repcharge. And hey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. So we're getting a whole bunch of other questions too. Looks like we've got some stuff from Kendra's Corner. We got some stuff from Riku. Riku, I can tell you in response to your question one thing. I know we're getting, well, what time?
I mean, we got minutes. We've got 20 minutes.
Okay.
Well, 15 minutes maybe. 15 I think is more accurate. Close to that.
Okay. Well, so we're not going to get to all of these, I'm sure, tonight. That you guys are asking. So, but we're putting them in on the website Princess Yellow. I have to give a shout out. Princess Yellow is so good at putting these questions in the website, so they're there for when we don't get to them, and then we can get to them on the next stream. So thank you, Princess. You are amazing, and yeah, you're awesome. you know you're awesome. But let's see. So thank you, Akil, for being here.
Yeah.
So all right. So do we want to go with Riku's?
So yeah, we have Riku and Kendra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kendra, here's the thing. So we do this on Wednesdays and Fridays, and we'll be here next Friday. So if you guys want to stop by around the same time or a little bit. Yeah, sorry, this coming Friday.
2 days from now.
2 days from now, yeah. We do this pretty much every Wednesday and Friday. So if you're around this time, or usually we do it a little bit earlier, but regardless, then, and we haven't answered your question, we will answer your question the next stream. We
that
always
you are present at.
That you're present at. So if you can't make it to the next one, but you're present like 4 streams from now and you finally get there, if we see you had a question before, we'll get to it. Because we save them all on the website, bss.studio. So that we can get to them all.
We can go to the mall.
So we can get what? No. Why would we ever do that, Joe? Are you asking me on a date right now?
To the mall, yeah.
Excuse me?
So anyway, all right. So let's move to Riku's before
good idea.
Get too late. So Riku posts on here. Maybe it's not a good question for here, but I don't know. I shake my head. I always wanted to start singing, doing covers, etc. I really feel unsure about it and tell myself that I am not good without even starting at all. It took me years to buy a microphone, but I never really recorded something. And now I'm soon starting to take hormones and my voice will change. Should I even try or just give it up or something? I have a microphone, but I'm scared that I won't do well with a song that I really like. I have sung in front of people and it is nerve-wracking, but afterward, the reward is great.
Sung in front of people is nerve-wracking, but afterward, the reward is great. Got it.
Actually, one that looked like it was Kendra posted too.
Yeah.
Kendra's post was the one about having a microphone, and it's
that's right. Yeah. Kendra,
yeah, so that's
in response to Riku.
Yeah, so and that's a really good answer, because yes, it is nerve-wracking, but when you're done, you feel so good about it. So I'm glad that made its way there. But I tell you, Riku, I'll just say one thing before I turn it over to Ryan, and that is do it. You have a microphone, you want to do it, you want to sing, do it, and put it on bss.studio. We've got a place for fan covers, we got a place for all kinds of stuff for people to post, and bss.studio is a community of people that is so encouraging. I have never met any group of people like the people at bss.studio. If you're not a member there, you should go and register. It's free, unless you feel like getting an upgraded subscription to something or whatever. But just to register, it's totally free, and you can post whatever you want. You can do whatever you want there. So go there and put it there, and you will be among a group of people where you won't have to be worried about being looked down upon or anything like that, because everybody there is so stinking encouraging.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So do that. You're into BSS. Yes. Put it there, and we would absolutely love to hear it. And if you post it, if you want to, go ahead and send me a private message when you do, because I would like to know when you post something.
Yeah.
You just click the little mail thing on there and just send me a quick message saying you posted something, because I don't always get to all the spots on the website. There's a lot going on right now, and things are pretty busy, but I'd really like to hear you sing. So Ryan, take it away.
Very nice. You said maybe this isn't a good question for here. No, it's an excellent question for here. We're here to hopefully encourage people, and and help them take the right actions in life as best we can. You know, we don't know everything. We don't know all the answers. We can't even necessarily solve your problems. But all we can do is, just give you some words, and hopefully those words help you. A lot of times we talk from our own experiences. And in this case, I've had a lot of experience in this. When I first started writing music, I didn't want anybody to hear it because it's really awkward. Like, it's still awkward when your song is playing in front of somebody and they're listening to it and you're like, they're judging my music right now. And that's what I've asked them to do. And they're doing it. And it just feels awkward because I'm standing here doing nothing while they sit there and listen to my music doing nothing but that. And it's just weird.
Yeah.
But after it happens like 400 times, you start to just get used to it and embrace the moment and be like, yeah, it's awkward. What up? Like, that's fine. But even with singing, I didn't really start to try to become a professional singer. I didn't even practice singing or anything like that. I didn't take singing classes or anything until I was 18 years old, or no, 17 years old. Nope, 18. 18 is when I started. So it was like I was basically in my car and I realized, hey, if I'm going to be a composer, I'm going to need someone to sing my songs for me. And it'll be a lot easier to sing them myself than hire somebody out all the time. So I just started to focus on trying to learn how to become a singer. And I spent a lot of time doing that. And it was really, it's uneasy singing in front of people. You're always afraid of messing up and that kind of thing. Here's what I learned. The less I cared about messing up, the easier it became to sing. You need to have confidence to sing, because if you're too unconfident in your singing, your voice and your strength in your vocal cords isn't all the way in. And because it's not all the way in, it's not all the way committed, it holds back and you don't sing as well. So you have to have that confidence. And so I'm just confident that I'm going to mess it up, because I am. I never played the piano without messing it up. I always throw a wrong note in there every single time. I never sing without messing it up. I always throw a wrong note in there multiple times.
You mess it up real good, though.
Yeah, thanks. So that's what's important. You got to sound human, right? That's what's human. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, that mistake was a mistake. He's just showing that where he's human, and that's right. Feeling. That's part of the music, But you know what? Here's the thing. The purpose of you singing is not to impress people. If you sing because you want to impress people, then it's always going to be hard. And it's always going to make you nervous.
And it's always going to be empty.
That's right. That's true. Because your emotions aren't in the right spot. So don't worry about whether you're impressing somebody when you're singing. Even if you're going to be judged and you go in front of a panel and they're judging you to see if you impress them, because they want to know if you get hired for the role or whatever it is. If you go with the intention to impress people, a lot of times you're going to be way too nervous and you're going to have the wrong attitude and you're going to mess up and they're not going to like you. You can hit every note right, but if your attitude is off in your singing, you didn't do a good job. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. When I noticed, like, here's a professional singing tip that no one talks about. Your attitude and your techniques are almost just as important as your pitch. You can hit all the pitches, but if you have no attitude behind it, if you're singing the words, but you're just like, oh, the water is cold. Oh, it hurts my skin. And this is the song. It's like, yeah, you got all the pitches, but it's a lot different than when you're like, the water is cold. It hurts my skin. You have feeling behind it. If you had your attitude in the right spot, people are going to enjoy the piece a lot more. So that's really important. It's more important to actually get into the music and to cause people to have joy and emotions than it is to impress people. So that's my start. Don't try to impress people. So just put yourself out there and let people down. And people will be like, wow, this person's terrible at singing. Here's the thing. Some people are going to like your voice. Some people aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like my music. Some people don't. Some people like my voice. Some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter, because that's just the way it is. Some people like it. Some people don't. I don't get to pick that. That's their opinion. And some people are going to hear your vocals and go, wow, this person's like the best thing in the world. And some people are going to listen to it and go, wow, you sound so screechy. And, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. Stop singing. Please never open your mouth again. Like, people will say things like that, especially on the internet, right?
Yes. Oh, man. Yes.
So here's
not at BSS.studio, they won't.
But not at BSS.studio. No one's going to say that, because everyone at BSS.studio is amazing. And we aren't paying them to be that way. They're just that way. It's awesome. But so here's the thing.
That's why we release all of our music at BSS.
That's exactly, because we know we can't be insulted, right? It's like, no. First of all, your talents don't amount to who you are. They're just a small part of you, and they're part of what you can do on the earth with yourself, what you can add to the world. But if people don't like what you add to the world, that's not your fault. You're just doing what you can do, and that's all you can do. And so don't ever be upset if someone doesn't like what you got. Another thing is, if you put this out here on YouTube or whatever, and people say they like it, always try to remind yourself that they're liking it doesn't mean that they like you. You have to separate yourself from your art. You have to remember that this piece of art is something I drew, but it's not who I am. Sure, I put my soul, heart, emotions, thoughts into this piece of art. Mm-hmm. But if someone doesn't like it, that doesn't mean they don't like who I am. And that doesn't change who I am inside. It doesn't change anything about me. It just shows me that they don't like that, and that's fine. They don't have to like everything. If here's the problem, because I've fallen into this before. I see a lot of people fall into this. If you read the good comments and they make you feel really good, when you read the bad comments, they'll make you feel really bad. Mm-hmm. It's better to look at the nice comments, and it's okay to feel good about them, but understand that those comments, even though they're nice, they have nothing to do with who you are as a human being. They have nothing to do with your value. They have nothing to do with how amazing of a person you are. So when someone says something bad, it's the same. That has nothing to do with me. It's just you're critiquing my work, and I appreciate it. Like, I'm glad now I know that you don't like it. Cool. Doesn't really change who I am. Doesn't affect how valuable I am. It doesn't affect how hard I worked on the song. And honestly, I like it, so I don't care what you think. Right. Here, I guess another thing is, if you're not sure that you like it, don't put it up for other people to listen to. But if you listen to it and you like it yourself, or maybe you're not sure, maybe you're like, I don't know if this is good or not, have other people listen to it, people you trust, see what they have to say about it, and then just put it out there. The thing is, like, everybody starts out hating their own vocals. Mm-hmm. Anybody I've ever talked to that's a singer, mm-hmm. including myself, they hated the way their voice sounds. They listen to their own songs and they're like, this sounds unprofessional because it's me. And mm-hmm. I don't like the sound of my voice.
Well, it doesn't sound the same as what it sounds like in your head.
Yeah.
Like when you sing it, it doesn't sound the same as when it's going to be recorded and you're going to hear a playback of it. It does not sound the same.
Right. That's so true.
It's different.
Mm-hmm. And you're always going to hear yourself and be like, man, I wish I sounded like that other guy because he sounds way cooler than me. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Some people will listen to the other guy and be like, yeah, right. You sound way better than him. I like your voice better. What are you talking about? Because everyone has their own taste, even you. And your taste probably isn't going to be yourself, and that's okay. The more you sing,
That's the quote of the day right there.
Your taste isn't going to be yourself, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The more you do it, the more you just get used to it. And at some point, you're going to start actually liking and appreciating your own voice. Because here's the thing. At some point, you're going to realize you need to be thankful for the voice you've been given. Mm-hmm. Because your voice is a gift to you. You didn't get to pick it, but it was given. And you get to use it. Maybe to change other people's lives. That's amazing. And it's something that only you have. And it was a gift. So at some point, you're going to come to terms with your voice and say, this voice isn't half bad. It's not bad. And at some point, you're going to be like, you know what? I'm glad I have that voice. That's my voice. Thanks. Thanks, God. I appreciate that. So, yeah, it's completely normal what you're going through. But you got to put yourself out there. The more you start allowing other people to hear you, the more confident you'll grow in allowing other people to hear you. And the more confident your singing will become, and the faster you'll get along the journey of, I hate my voice, to, I think my voice is okay, to, hey, my voice isn't bad. I kind of like it. You just have to start the journey and you'll get from one place to another. I think the path is pretty much the same for every singer in that regard. So yeah, I know I spoke a lot, but I'm going to let Joe say whatever he has to conclude with.
Yeah, no, that was what Ryan said was absolutely true. Every singer goes through that. There's some degree of audio production that goes into things that can definitely help. There are some tools in audio production that go a long way to helping. And sometimes it takes a while to figure out how to get all that to work with your voice. And once you kind of get the hang of how that works, then you can, it gets pretty easy to do that with anybody's voice, not just your own. But then you can easily work with anybody's voice and make it bring out the best elements of their voice. It's not like you make their voice sound good, because you can't ever take something bad and make it sound good. That was one of the things I learned in audio production in a course that I took recently, where it was like, the key is the song. If the song isn't any good, you're not going to make a bad song a hit song. The song itself has to be good. And then you just, as the audio producer, you just kind of get out of the way of it and let it shine. You just kind of maybe clean it and, shape it just a little bit, and then let the world experience it. But I tell you, like Ryan said, your voice is a gift to the world, and we would love to hear that. So please sing something and post it. We'd love to hear it. The nerve-wracking, I'll tell one quick story about that. And it was actually the first project that Ryan and I worked together on. And this was a mostly instrumental songs. There were some that had some lyrics on them, and we didn't know much. We were just kind of getting going on all this stuff. And on audio production, I knew a little bit of stuff. Ryan knew a little bit, and we just kind of worked together, and it took us forever. And we worked on this thing for like months, because both of us were working full time. We didn't have any time. It was just crazy. And we just poured every spare moment we had into this. And we were on Skype all the time talking. How are you doing this? I don't know. How are you doing it? Well, whatever, blah, 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 blah. We're just sharing stuff back and forth. It was a crazy project. And it was nuts, because I remember when it was finally done, it was at the very tail end. And we'd done this project for a leadership development company, and they were going to be they were going to be playing the music over the loudspeakers in the stadiums at these big events that they have with like thousands of people, and they're going to be playing this recording in front of all these people. And I remember the first time they played it. And we walked into the room, and they're playing the stuff that we had just spent months creating. We walked into this room and we looked around and there's like 4,000 or 5,000 people in this arena. We're looking around at everybody and our music is playing over the loudspeakers in front of all these people, and they have no idea who we are. They have no idea who created it. None whatsoever. And so I'm looking around at different people, and I'm looking for people that are going, oh, this is terrible, but nobody really cared. I don't think. I just look around and I think it was just, hey, another day, another stuff playing over the loudspeakers. I'm trying to have a conversation with my buddy and the music's kind of going in the background, whatever. Yeah. But I remember when I walked into that room, I wanted to like hide and vomit and pee my pants and cry all at the same time.
I think I did do all those things. So no, I'm just kidding. That sounds like a lot of excretion.
Everything just, and I was sweating. So that was like the last little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
But so the nervousness is completely normal, unexpected, and it's okay. And those experiences that you have are going to go into who you are becoming. At this point right now, I would say that it's more important for you to do it and finish it, no matter what the result is,
mm-hmm.
than any other thing, because it's going to give you the experience and it's going to empower you no matter what happens. If you put something out and it flops, you did it. You worked at it and you finished it, when you can get in the habit of finishing, that's so huge. That will go so far into any area of your life. If you think you have this idea and the very thing that you're battling, if you battle it and win, now you've got a victory under your belt of you fighting yourself. You've fought back your fear. You fought back your nervousness. You fought back all of that stuff and you won in that moment. Now, here's the thing. You're going to have another moment later. You're going to have another opportunity to be afraid. You have another opportunity to be nervous and to be held back by your fear. That opportunity will come again and again and again. And the more times you take those experiences and fight it and win at it, even no matter the result. The result is inconsequential. It does not matter. The thing that matters is that you fought it back and you finished it anyways. You make that a habit, you're eventually going to have stuff that, the results are going to be great and they're going to be awesome. So yeah. That's why I would say do it. Do it, yeah. do it. Riku, please do it and send it to us because, our audience is so loving. And we'll just be happy that you put something out. I will be your biggest cheerleader just because of the fact that you fought back your nervousness and you did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how it comes out. You start somewhere. I remember listening to Ryan's first stuff and it was, like anybody's first stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible. Like it is now. I will not say it's terrible.
It wasn't terrible.
What it was it had. I remember the very first time listening to it, and I had the ability because I'd done studio work before, and so I knew how things progress and what things in the early stages sound like and all that. But there was the kernel of the potential of the growth of what we see now in Static P. Those early moments, even though it wasn't as polished, even though it wasn't quite as professional, even though it wasn't there, he had these basics down. And the fact that he had put together this whole CD of stuff, he had put together, I don't know how many songs, was it 3 or 4 or 5, something on that
I don't remember. Yeah.
That one
Something.
CD that we listened to in the car in the snowstorm.
Yeah. 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 It was all like MIDI. It was all,
Yeah,
yeah, it was great.
yeah, it was
I don't know how
so
many
awesome.
songs, but yeah.
But he did it, and the very fact that he had put it together was the thing that spoke the most to me, because I was like, hey, I remember those moments of thinking, am I good enough? I don't know if I'm good enough to do this kind of stuff. I don't know if I can actually do this. Who is a songwriter? I mean, really, that's only for those kinds of people, and I'm not that. All that stuff that people told me throughout growing up, oh, only lucky people get to be
Yeah.
that. Only people who, no, it's not. But
A lot more play out than luck. Yeah.
yep. So just do it.
Yeah.
And do it again, and then do it again. And those victories are going to build more confidence in you than you can even imagine right now. Even though right now it's scary and intimidating, and it's this big looming thing in front of you. You fight it a little bit by a little bit, do it and win, and start chalking up those victories. Before you know it, you'll be beating back huge giants of fear. And you won't even break a sweat.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Just to hit on what Joe said once more, be a finisher. Just be someone who finishes the project. And by the way, it's not finished until it's out in the world for people to hear. That's when it's finished. Because you might think you finished the song and it's recorded and everything and you've got everything sounding nice. Still not finished because no one's heard it yet.
It's not public. That's one of the things in my
if you can,
I put in my little goal segment when I do all my organizing stuff. I had a goal on there. I was like, I'm going to complete this project, and then underneath I had on there, it doesn't count if it's not public.
Yeah, right. It's true. It's true. You have to finish it. I'll tell you what, if you just finish what you start, you'll be in the top 5% of people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because plenty of people start things. But if you can fight those fears, fight all of the issues that happen from start to finish, because there's a lot of them. And, a lot of people have a hard time working up the emotions or the motivation to actually finish something, or the ideas to actually finish something. A lot of times people start with a story and it's like the story's going great. And then in the middle, it's like, I don't know if I like the story anymore. Sometimes we write songs and we don't even know if we like the song anymore.
Mm-hmm. Most of the time I hate the song. By the time it's done, I hate it.
Yep. Yeah. But we finish it. And when it's finished, it goes public. And then we get surprised. We're like, people like this? I hate it. That's awesome. I'm glad people like this. This is great. You don't really hate it, but you wouldn't publish it if you absolutely despised it. If you didn't think it sounded good enough. But still, you get to a point where like, I don't even want to listen to it anymore. I'm just gonna let other people listen to it because I'm done. I'm done listening to that, and the same thing comes with writing a story. Same thing comes with drawing art or painting. If you can finish something, you've done something incredible. So, and just like Joe said, oh my gosh, I didn't start where I am now. Okay. Some of you people think that I'm good. And in 10 years, you might listen to my stuff and be like, man, he was terrible back then. He's good now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
If I can. Yeah. And 10 years ago, trust me. Like if you heard my stuff and I was posting my stuff I was making 10 years ago on YouTube, you would be like, okay, this guy will never make it. He's not that great. Like it's pretty bad. I mean, let's be honest. It's pretty bad. Like the quality.
That first one, Heinrich Feinzel or something.
Yeah, probably.
Heinrich Heinzel something or other. It was great. It was like this power metal song. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, all my stuff was power metal.
Yeah, like MIDI power metal.
MIDI power metal. You had the guitars that like it's amazing. I still like those songs though. Here's the thing. I like those songs. They've got great melodies, great style, but they're totally like if you listen to the quality, you're like, wow. I don't think I would ever put that on my iPod or whatever, I'd never listen to it. just because the quality is so bad. This will never make radio.
Right.
But regardless, you finish a project, you start finishing projects over and over and over, and eventually you'll just get good. Because here's the thing, no one starts out amazing with any talent. You just get good. You get better and better.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yep.
I wish you the best.
Yes. And do it, please. Please.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
Yeah.
Please. Pretty please. With sugar on top. Please. Continue.
Cool.
So, anyway. Awesome. Thank you for asking. That was such a great question, Riku. Kendra, we've got one from you there on the website. So the next time we see you on the stream, we will be sure to address that one. Akil, you have one here as well, taking a bow. We will get to that one as well. Thank you very much for your questions. Senna, hello. Welcome.
Hey, Senna. Nice to see you.
Yes.
We're just leaving, though, unfortunately.
We're just wrapping up. So Science Rocks, thanks for being here. Princess Yellow, thank you so much for posting everything on the website. You're amazing.
You're
amazing. Cannot thank you enough. Our illustrious producer is Jesse. Jesse! You're amazing. Thank you so much. He's about to turn the off button on, which turns us off. Like, yeah. And the word from our sponsor is what? That's it.
It's the letter U and an H after it. I love that word. It's one of the most said words in the English dictionary.
It is actually
English vocabulary. Yeah.
Totally is. Kendra, thank you. Oh, we made your night. We didn't even get to your topic. And we still made your night.
Well, thank you. You're awesome.
Man, if we made your night tonight, just wait till we get to your topic next time.
Yeah, we'll totally ruin your night because we're terrible at this.
That's not how it's supposed to work.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Yes. Kittens, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. Thank you, everyone. If I've been naming people and I shouldn't do that because I'm going to miss people.
You're going to miss them all.
I'm going to miss people. I'm so sorry. But you guys are great. And go to bss.studio. Get involved on the website. We got some great stuff coming. So, yes.
Bye-bye.
And that's it.
See you later.
Come back on Friday.
Eat your breakfast when you eat it. Don't shove it in your face and expect it to absorb through your skin. It's not going to work. Trust me.
It's not going to work.
No.
It's not going to work.